Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Jeremiah, the 13th chapter, the ruined waistband. And in this chapter, the Lord has, as he's done, with previous prophets, he uses a similitude of asking Jeremiah, to perform a certain task that would be symbolic of what he would then do to Israel or to Judah. So this is Jeremiah 3:1, the ruined waistband, and Judah being the southern tribes, or the tribes of the southern kingdom. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto me, go and get thee a linen girdle, and put it upon thy loins, and put it not in water. So Jeremiah was basically commanded to go and buy a girdle. And a girdle, in the ancient world, since you would have your garments, a girdle was like a waistband. And as it says, and put it upon your loins, so your waist, and put it not in water, so don't wash it. And let's look up here a girdle Bible times. See if we can get an image of that. Yeah, so you can see it's basically like today you have a belt, right? But a girdle was like a waistband, right? For lack of a better word. So Jeremiah goes and gets it, right? Verse 2. So I got a girdle according to the word of the Lord Yahweh, and put it on my loins. So he wore it. And the word of the Lord Yahweh came on to me the second time, saying, take the girdle that thou hast got, which is upon thy loins, and arise, go to Euphrates, and hide it there in a hole of the rock. And I mean, just for, some insight, see Jeremiah journey to Euphrates. Maybe somebody has diagrammed this. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe this would be all right. This ain't the exact one, but should be okay. So roughly, if you can see, you have the land of Canaan, right, where Israel is. And Jeremiah, I'd say somewhere around here probably is where you have Anathoth. So the Lord tells him to go all the way to the Euphrates, right, to the Euphrates River. So that's a journey. So make his way to the Euphrates River, as we're reading here. And basically take the girdle that the Lord told him to go and buy, go to the Euphrates, and then hide it there in the hole of a rock. So basically dig up a hole in there and then hide your girdle in there. Showing you the obedience of the prophets. That's like taking a long trip. And somebody might say, oh, just to bury a girdle. But there's a reason why the Lord commanded him to say that or to do that. Okay. So it says here, verse 5, so I went and hid it by Euphrates as the Lord Yahweh commanded me. Now you see how this is like verse by verse, but clearly this would have been, some days probably, right, journey, or like, it would take, some time. It's not like a 1 mile walk. But anyway, he makes the journey. He goes there. He hides his girdle, right, in the Euphrates, or by a rock or a hole in there. Verse 6, and it came to pass after many days, and we don't know how many days that was. It could have been months. It could have been weeks, right? That the Lord Yahweh said unto me, arise, go to Euphrates, and take the girdle from thence, which I commanded thee to hide there. So that same girdle you buried over there, make your trip back there and go and get it. Then I went to Euphrates and digged, and took the girdle from the place where I hid it. And behold, the girdle was marred. And when something is marred, it's destroyed. It's, messed up, for lack of a better word. It was profitable for nothing. So it was probably like it was a destroyed looking. Let me see if there's something like this here. Decayed clothing. Yep. So when you bury, yeah. This is what you see like with pirates, right? Or corpse or zombies. You see their clothing look something like that, right? So that's what happens over time. And that's, you can imagine, that's probably how the girdle started to look. It was good for nothing. It was decayed. Um, so as it says here, verse 8, then the word of the Lord Yahweh came on to me, saying, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, after this manner will I mar the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem. So just like your girdle has been marred, and you can't fix that, right? It's completely like, it's good for nothing. So the Lord saying, just like that is how I'm gonna mar the pride and the glory and the name or the reputation that Judah and Jerusalem had. Remember, going back to the time of King David and King Solomon, they were known, right, in history as like, damn, like these were the people to beat. But what I'm about to do to them is gonna liken them onto this marred girdle that you have. This evil people which refuse to hear my words, which walk in the imagination of their heart. So the imagination of their heart is, once again, your heart here being your mind. So whatever their inner thoughts tell them, as today they'll say their intrusive thoughts, whatever they think they want to do, that's what they do, instead of hearkening to what the Lord tells them to do. And walk after other gods, right? So they worship these idols, they sacrifice their children unto them, to serve them and to worship them, shall even be as this girdle, which is good for nothing. For as the girdle cleaveth to the loins of a man, and that what that looks like is, once again, girdle, Bible times. When something cleaves onto you, it, like, in this sense, it's hugging you, it's tightly on you. So just like the girdle or like a belt, it wraps around you tightly, it cleaves onto you. So have I caused to cleave onto me the whole house of Israel and the whole house of Judah. So the Lord is saying, just like a girdle cleaves onto you, that's originally how I set up Israel and Judah to cleave onto me. Saith the Lord, that they might be unto me for a people and for a name. So like metaphorically, the wrapping of the garment or the girdle of Israel around the Lord's waist was basically us forming that covenant with him, so that we would be onto him a people, and, as it says, for a name and for a praise and for a glory. But they would not hear. Because by being wrapped around the Lord and cleaving onto him, he would magnify the name of Israel, right? Make us a praise in the earth and a glory in the earth. But due to disobedience, our people did not hear. Therefore thou shalt speak unto them this word, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, God of Israel, every bottle shall be filled with wine. And they shall say unto thee, do we not certainly know that every bottle shall be filled with wine? Now, reading this in the NLT to give a better sense of the dialogue here. So tell them, this is what the Lord Yahweh, the God of Israel, says, may all your jars be filled with wine. And they will reply, of course, jars are made to be filled with wine. Yo, Jake, man. Verse 13, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will fill all the inhabitants of this land, even the kings that sit upon David's throne, and the priests, and the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with drunkenness. So the Lord is using he's speaking poetically here, but he is alluding to a state that he's going to put you in before he brings judgment upon you. So the visual here is that he's going to make you so drunk that you become helpless, from the king all the way down to the common folk. And then I will dash them one against another, even the fathers and the sons together, saith the Lord. I will not pity, nor spare, nor have mercy, but destroy them. Okay, so the visual you see there, right? Them being dashed together, smashing their heads, whatnot, till they're dead. But the way that would, manifest is basically what the Lord is saying. I'm going to put you in a position of um, of weakness, right, or a position of being, because when you get very drunk, you're vulnerable, right? You're not fully aware of your surroundings. You definitely cannot fight per se. You want to, right? But you can't, right? You're inebriated. Your sense of judgment is off, right? Your timing is off. So the Lord is going to put Israel in a state where they're helpless, and then he's going to judge them to where they can't escape. Hear ye and give ear. Be not proud, for the Lord Yahweh hath spoken. So listen, humble down. Give glory to the Lord Yahweh your God, because before he caused darkness, and before your feet stumble upon the dark mountains. And that in this verse, the darkness and the light, which we're about to read about, symbolize, when you have light, you have, comfort, right? You have answers, you have solutions, right? You have life. Darkness is the opposite of that. Okay, that's representing loss, fear, distress. So, as Jeremiah is saying, glorify the Lord in your actions first by turning back, reverencing the Lord, fearing the Lord, before he caused darkness, right? That state of confusion, fear, distress, and before your feet stumble upon the dark mountains. And while ye look for light, right? So when the hard times come upon you and you're scrambling, looking for a solution, he turned it into the shadow of death. So while you're looking for solutions, you're looking for a way out, the Lord is only providing more and more death and make it gross darkness. So to sum this up, turn to the Lord before he makes your life a living hell. But if you will not hear it, my soul shall weep in secret places for your pride. So Jeremiah is saying, like, if I'm telling you to take heed, man, but if you don't listen, all I can do is really just cry for you, because I know how bad it's going to be. It's almost like when Yahushua wept over the city and said, if you knew what was it appertaining to thy peace, if I'm wording it right, like you're running around doing all of this, but you don't even know what's about to happen to you. I know, I've seen it. And the only way to escape it is by repenting, but you're not going to. It says here, and mine eye shall weep sore and run down with tears, because the Lord's flock is carried away captive. And he saw it, right? Say unto the king and to the queen, humble yourselves, sit down, for your principalities shall come down. So your principalities, meaning your royalties, right? Your throne, your status, the Lord is going to bring all that down. Even the crown of your glory. So your power in your crown and your boasting and all of that, the Lord is going to bring all that down. The cities of the south shall be shut up, and none shall open them. So when your distress comes, you're not going to have allies or areas you can run and flee into. They're going to shut their gates. They're going to shut their doors. And Judah shall be carried away captive, all of it. It shall be wholly carried away captive. So not half the nation, not a quarter of the nation. The majority, the bulk, is going to be taken away. Lift up your eyes and behold them that come from the north, i.e. the invading army, right, of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Where is the flock that was given thee? Thy beautiful flock, right? And here, speaking unto those that the pastors, the flock would be those that were given to their charge, right? That there's those that they were supposed to look over and rule over in righteousness, all right, expecting them to know better. Where are they now? And they were first scattered and destroyed due to being misled, and then ultimately taken what? Captive, right? It says, what wilt thou say when he shall punish thee? Right? So what's your answer going to be to the Lord when he brings his judgment upon you? For thou hast taught them to be captains and as chief over thee. And this is referring to the allies that or the alliances that Judah tried to form. And I'll read this in another translation, which words it, a bit differently. So it's clearer what it's alluding to. Shall not sorrows take thee as a woman in travail? So If we pull this up once again, NLT and even NIV, but it says, "What will you say when the Lord Yahweh takes the allies you have cultivated and appoints them as your rulers? Pangs of anguish will grip you like those of a woman in labor." Because when you look into the when it says taught them to be captains, when you look into the word captains, it also goes into tame, right? And technically, an alliance is almost like a taming, because sometimes you form an alliance with those that at one point were your enemies, and that's like a taming of them, right? So as it says, tame, docile, friend, intimate. Okay, chief, chiliarch. So those that Judah try to form alliances with, the Lord would use them to be over you. And your calamity will come upon you like sorrows, right? Or sorrows will take over you like a woman in travail. You're as a nation, you're going to be in pain. And if thou say in thine heart, so if you start to wonder, wherefore came these things upon me? Like, why? What's going on? Why is all this happening? The answer is, for the greatness of thine iniquity are thy skirts discovered. The skirts discovered is, the image is like a woman whose skirt gets lifted up, and then she's basically uncovered, right? She's exposed. And thy heels made bare, which is another way of saying, you suffer hardships. So because of your iniquities, because of your wickedness, you're blatant. It's not ignorant. It's blatant wickedness, deliberate, adding sin onto sin, over and over and over and over again. Because of that, the Lord is doing this to you. He's exposing you. He's bringing down your glory, and he's causing you to endure affliction. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, i.e. his skin color, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. Damn. So you are so accustomed to do evil that the chances of you doing good is like a leopard changing his spots, or a very dark-skinned Ethiopian changing, pulling the X-Men, Mystique, and changing his skin color to look like an Edomite, or look lighter skin. Therefore will I scatter them as the stubble that passeth away by the wind of the wilderness. So what this is, right? The stubble, let me just say, stubble blown in wind. Okay, not what I'm looking for. Let me see. Threshing floor. Oops. Okay. One of these should have. There we go. This is not bad. Okay, this is also not bad. So the stubble is this like the remains, the sheaf, all that. And typically, they have the threshing floor in an open space so that the wind can blow it and clear it, right? Clean it. And sometimes to help with that, they will use these like pitchfork looking things to like lift and throw up the chaff into the air so they can be separated by the wind and blown away. So as it says, so the Lord says he's going to scatter Judah, right? And uses the analogy like how stubble is scattered or blown away by the wind. That's how they're going to be taken and sent away into a foreign land. In this case, the region of Babylon. This is thy lot. So this is your portion. The portion of thy measures from me. So this is the judgment, or the damn, I'm losing words here. But this is like the measure, right, of the judgment that I've cut out for you, to say this is what you're going to go through. Saith the Lord Yahweh, because thou hast forgotten me and trusted in falsehood, which are the ways of the heathen nations, primarily their idol worship. And the reason idolatry is emphasized so much is because idolatry comes with practices. It's not just, oh, you just wake up and bow down to an idol. There are practices that come along with it, like child sacrifices and so many other things, that temple prostitution, right, that the Lord is against. And that's why he mentions this so much, because it literally is a driving factor of leading Israel astray from the Lord. Therefore will I discover thy skirts upon thy face, right? Like we read up above, you're going to be exposed and ashamed. that thy shame may appear. If a woman is wearing a dress and it's very windy and her skirt blows up, instantly she grabs it to push it down, right? Because it's embarrassing for her to be exposed like that. And that's why, and that's what the Lord is saying he's going to do, right? In a sense, by stripping you of your glory, of your title, of your position, and turning you from a defense city into slaves that have to walk, that have been stripped of their clothes, that are weak and defenseless, and that have been made bare and subject to the Babylonians and carried into their land. That is a shameful thing, right? For example, when people look at Jake today, right, they think of slavery, and that's a shameful thing, right? It's looked at as an atrocious thing, right? A negative thing that happened, but it's like a shameful thing. When people look at the history of Israelites today, I'm referring to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, primarily the Southern Kingdom, they look at it as like you go back to a point where you were 3/5 of a man, right? Like their records and images of the kind of life you used to live, right? And that's a shame. So similarly, as the Lord was telling them back then, I'm going to send you in captivity, and that'll be a stain. That'll be a shameful thing. Verse 27, I have seen thine adulteries and thy neighings, right, going into their lusts, the lewdness of thy whoredom, and thine abominations on the hills and the fields. And those abominations are their idols and shrines on the hills, which are high places, in the fields, okay, and in the groves or under the trees. The Lord said he has witnessed all of that. And therefore, woe unto thee, O Jerusalem! Wilt thou not be made clean? Damn. When will you be made clean? When will you, stop so the Lord can purify you? When shall it be? When shall it once be? So when will you, finally just humble down and let the Lord, clean you? Because that's what he's offering. He said, turn back to me and I'll make your sins, though they be as scarlet, I'll make it, or they be as crimson, I'll make it white as snow. Right? As it says, how long before you are pure? And that brings us to the end of Jeremiah, the 13th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.